Hello and welcome to the Jerry Hicks Show, exclusively on the Censored Freedom Network. Now, the man that thought MAGA extremism was a new part of the X Games, your host, Jerry Hicks.
Thank you so much, Dave, and thank you everybody for being here on this Wednesday, March the 26th, 2025. We're glad to have you all along for the ride. Sorry about last night, guys. Honestly, I fell asleep. Straight up, I fell asleep, not even going to lie. I wish I had a better excuse, but I don't. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are here tonight, and we're glad to have all of you here with us. Whether you are on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, or X, we're glad to have you all along for the ride. If you are on those platforms, make sure you hit that follow, subscribe, like, share, all the fun buttons down there at the bottom. We really appreciate it, guys. Get the name out. Let everybody know what we are doing over here. We really, really appreciate it. With that said, folks, we have a ton of news to get into. So let's go ahead and hop on over to the news rack. Looks like we have a Doge update to start with, ladies and gentlemen. Contract update yesterday. Agencies terminated 113 wasteful contracts with a ceiling value of $4.7 billion and a savings of $3.3 billion, including a $145,000 USDA consulting contract for Peru climate change activities. So much wrong with that. Number one, why are we sending money to another country? Number two, climate change is bullshit. It changes all the time. We don't need to pay for that. Only two updates on Doge today, folks. Great work by the U.S. DOL Secretary LCD. So what's the DOL? Department of Labor. Duh, that's what the DOL is. That makes more sense. Secretary Lori Chavez de Remar, I want to make sure I had that name right, and Sonderling, Deputy Secretary Sonderling, canceling $577 million in America Last grants for $237 million in savings, including $10 million for gender equity in the Mexican workplace. Again, so much wrong with that sentence. Also, $12.2 million for worker empowerment in South America. $6.25 million for improving respect for workers' rights in agricultural supply chains in Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Again, no business paying for this ignorant garbage, honestly. It ain't got nothing to do with us. $5 million for elevating women's participation in the workplace. That's awesome. In West Africa. That doesn't help America any. $4.3 million for assisting foreign migrant workers in Malaysia. $3 million to enhance Social Security access and worker protections for internal migrant workers in Bangladesh. And $3 million for safe and inclusive work environments. That's awesome. Where's this at? Lesotho. Sorry, guys, I ain't that great with geometry. With the map is what I mean. Could somebody tell me where Lesotho is? Is that one of those little bitty islands that nobody ever actually heard of? I really don't. No, geography is what I'm not good at, or learning the words apparently. But there's our Doge report for today, ladies and gentlemen. So, following up on a story we brought to you Tuesday with supposed hoax peddler Jeffrey Goldberg. Now, I, in the beginning, believed that this was a hoax, and I said until I see evidence, I won't believe otherwise. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've seen evidence, and they did drop the evidence, the receipts, if you will, that showed that he was in the group, this Jeff Goldberg, in the PC Houthi group, with the other members of the cabinet for some reason. And he did release the full text chains. Now, these aren't war plans, like they were saying, right? They do mention attacks in different places, yes, and they even give a play-by-play for attacks. I believe it's this one right here. Here it is, a timed play-by-play of attacks that were going on at the moment. So Goldberg was lucky to be in this group, and be honest with you. But he should not have been. There's no reason he should have been in this group. So he's right to have said, hey guys, I'm not supposed to be here. Now, is he right about sticking around and getting the information and publishing it? I'm torn. It doesn't have any information in here that's national security or would tell us anything other than how much ammunition was used. Fair enough, right? But what if it had been something worse? What if it had been something much more classified? Would he have kept it secret? I don't know. But the big question comes to, should he have been there at all? And of course, he should not. And he accidentally makes a damning statement in this release. Again, he released the information today. And he suddenly changed it up from war plans to attack plans. Now they were just attack plans. They weren't actually war plans. So yeah, they went a bit overboard running with the war plan narrative, but the guy had a point. He had a point. He was privy to information that he very well should not have been privy to. Now, did he use this to try to embarrass the administration? Absolutely he did. He's a leftist. Would we have done the same thing to the other side? Absolutely we would have. Make no mistake about it. I ain't mad at the guy. I actually kind of proud of him. This is what a journalist is supposed to do. Get the information and report it. Now, whose fault was it that this happened? National Security Advisor Mike Waltz takes full responsibility for Signalgate. That's what this is being called now. We'll get into Signalgate here in a minute. But let's hear what he had to say to Laura.
Joining us now, one of the principals who was on that Signal chat, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Advisor Waltz, thank you for joining us tonight.
I can't make it any louder. I do apologize.
The president expressed complete confidence in you today and his entire cabinet. But how did a Trump-hating editor of The Atlantic end up on your Signal chat?
You know, Laura, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but of all the people out there, somehow this guy who has lied about the president, who has lied to Gold Star families, lied to their attorneys, and gone to Russia hoax, gone to just all kinds of links to lie and smear the president of the United States, and he's the one that somehow gets on somebody's contact and then gets sucked into this group.
Is someone in your intel? Is someone in your intel team?
Remember that he's claiming that they got sucked into the group. I don't buy this for a second. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he's full of crap.
Trying to cause trouble here, because that's the scuttlebutt out there.
Look,
that
we have people. No, look, this is a great group. The president has a great team. This is not first term.
No, your team. I'm not talking about the other principals.
No. These were principals and a couple of staff that were coordinating, as you saw, having a policy discussion as we went forward, and then just in the days before what was an incredible strike. Not only did we take out people that the Biden team never could, that we took out.
Now, credit where it's due, he didn't actually give the information to the Houthis.
Headquarters, missile caches, and actually one of
But he could have.
the leaders of the Houthi organization, we've since taken out several since. And, you know, that's what they don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the success here. They don't want to talk about the hostages getting released. They don't want to talk about the Black Sea ceasefire that we just put in place today as the president ends the largest land war in Europe, or the border, or the fact
Now he's deflecting.
that Panama just kicked China out. It's embarrassing,
Right.
yes. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I just talked to Elon on the way here. We've got the best technical minds looking at how this happened. But I can tell you for 100%, I don't know this guy. I know him by his horrible reputation, and
I don't believe that for a second, ladies and gentlemen. I do not believe it for a second. Laura goes on to say, but you never talked to him before, so how's his number on your phone? I'm not an expert in any of this, just curious. How's the number on your phone? He said, well, if you have somebody else's contact and somehow he gets sucked in. She said, was there supposed to be someone else on the chat that wasn't in there? He said, the person that I thought was there was not. It was this guy. So, no, I don't buy this for a second. He just contradicted himself in saying that he also says that he set the chat up himself and thought there was another person in there. Folks, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it for a second. I think this guy is lying through his teeth. And I think he should be held accountable for what has happened. He should get more than just some little slap on the wrist and Trump saying, it's okay, don't do it again, which is what happened. In essence, that's what happened. I told you, I don't mind calling out either side. I am for Trump, but if they do something stupid, I'm going to call them out. And this is stupid. This should have never happened. And it really, really makes one wonder, could this have been where the leaks were coming from on the House Intel Committee from Mike Waltz through Jeffrey Goldberg? He claims he's never talked to the guy. And maybe he hasn't. And there's no evidence to suggest otherwise yet. Give it time. But I can't help but wonder if these guys were not connected prior. I would almost put money on them being connected prior, as a matter of fact. Folks, just because they're in this administration doesn't mean they're any better than anyone else. And this guy needs to be held accountable for this. What if it was much worse? What if it really was war plans that had been being discussed? What if it was something that the leftist reporter went off and told the other side about? It's a dangerous, dangerous game. Now, it also brings up another question. Should they have an app where they can talk to each other? I think they talk to themselves already. Where they can talk to each other outside of the purview of regular channels. Should they have back channels to discuss very high classified intel things? I think they should. I understand there are certain things that I'm not going to know about, that my president's going to do. I get that. Confidentiality is a major part of the office. And if he can't discuss with certain people around, and he has to discuss certain things confidentially, then there should be a way that they can communicate outside of normal channels. Could this be abused? Absolutely it can. Do I want it to? Absolutely not. But should it exist? I think it should. However, oh, yes, so the Atlantic actually praised Signal as the gold standard app back during the Obama and Hillary era, and when Trump staffers used it. Then it was great. The gold standard of encrypted messaging, right? So now they're trying to make it look like this thing's broken and it's a big problem. It's another way to go after an app that is not able to be read by their software. That is a private, really classified private communication software. So, I don't know, guys. I think this is being used big time against the Republicans. Not to say that they didn't earn it. Because there's been a lawsuit filed, ladies and gentlemen, against the administration, as if we didn't know that was coming. And the lawsuit just happened to go in random lottery to Judge Boasberg. Yes, that Judge Boasberg that tried to interject himself in the Alien Enemies Act, where there was no point of interjection or authority for interjection. Now it comes again, another case in front of him, just by chance, right? I really think the random system is really non-random and broken, if it is random, because it just so happens that the worst judges for the right side just happen to keep getting the cases, right? The more radical judges just happen to keep getting the cases against Trump. That's just by chance, right? We both know that's not the case. Judge Boasberg, ladies and gentlemen, I did not realize until today, and I did look this up, and it has been validated. This is true. He's the judge and then intentionally delayed the release of Hillary Clinton's emails until after the 2016 election. And then he tried to interject himself in the Alien Enemies Act case, and now he's tried to, or he's usurping the power again, it looks like, in the Signalgate case that he just so happened to get assigned to by random chance that I do not believe was random at all. Jasmine Crock-o-shit has been out here running her mouth. Now, we know she's made unhinged comments about Elon. We know she said that thing yesterday about Cruz. And again, I tried to stand up for this woman. I really did. When she said the thing about Cruz and beating him over the head, I really think she was talking about in interview style, hitting him with hard questions, no punches, right? Not holding any punches back. That's always been a figure of speech, right? So I really tried to defend her yesterday, but then the dumbass doubles down and goes and says something stupid about Governor Crockett. Does it have it here?
And because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey.
So Governor Hot Wheels making fun of him for being in a wheelchair. Remember, the loving, inclusive left. They care so much about you and so much about the minority of those that are on the outskirts of society. They really want to make sure that those are really represented. Unless they don't follow their ideology, then they're just pieces of crap that you get to make fun of, right? Calling Governor Abbott Hot Wheels. He's in a wheelchair, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, because of a freak accident where an oak tree fell on him. Now, I call Mandela effect on this. I was blown away when I seen him in a wheelchair meeting Trump about a year or so ago. Like that just it baffled me. I did not remember him being in a wheelchair. Maybe I didn't pay attention. That's just me. But anyway, Jasmine Crock-o-shit called, as you heard, talked about Governor Hot Wheels. Then to justify her remark, she said that she was, what was her lie? What's her lie? I wasn't thinking about the governor's condition. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by black mayors, deliberately stoking tension and fear among the most vulnerable. That's what I really meant. Literally, the next line I said was he is a hot-ass mess, referencing his terrible policies. At no point did I mention or allude to his condition. You dumbass, when you called him Hot Wheels, that was a direct allude to his, I know I did not use that right, to his condition. So I'm even more appalled that the very people who unequivocally support Trump, a man known for racially insensitive nicknames and mocking those with disabilities, are now outraged. No, he's never mocked anyone with disabilities. That's more propagandic bullshit. Racial insensitivity, no. Stupidity insensitivity, yes. Racial insensitivity, no. That man is anything but a racist. So Jasmine Crock-o-shit doubles down and says, well, no, that ain't really what I meant. Well, Trump was asked about this, to which he said, she's a lowlife and she's a very low IQ person. I don't imagine the Democrats are going to have a person like that running their party. If they do, they'll never win an election again. I can't imagine she's going to last that long. He said, to be smart, you need a brain. I've only heard her for the last couple of days, and I watched her make a speech, and she can't speak. She truly is a low-level person on a very important chart of intelligence. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. He is not happy about that, and I don't blame him. Like, there's no reason to stoop to such low shots, right? Yeah, I made fun of Al Green and his cane. I sure did. And I'll take that. Maybe I'm no better, and that's fine. But I'm not a congressman. And then she goes on this just absolutely unhinged rant when it comes to the oversight committee with NPR and PBS, and apologizes to the people that have been called up to witness today. And the Doge agenda is not about government efficiency, it's about breeding corruption. Yeah, the people in there trying to find the corruption, they're about breeding corruption. Make sense. Said they don't care about public safety. She said they don't care about emergency management. They don't care about free speech, all of which are harming American people. No, we're not Democrats, sweetie. You're confused. See, this is Jasmine Crock-o-shit. This is why I call her Jasmine Crock-o-shit, because that's all she does is talk about bullshit, lies that mean absolutely nothing. Yeah, she's kissing NPR's ass because NPR is a very, very, very one-sided news propaganda network. PBS is also a very left-leaning propaganda network. Why is this a problem? Because they receive taxpayer funding. They should be right down the middle with no leaning whatsoever, if anything. And in this hearing, Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Margarine, I love her to death. Marjorie Taylor Greene shreds NPR and PBS CEOs over previous statements. I think it's best just to listen to this one because it's kind of funny, to be honest.
Thank you, Mr. Ullman. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. Ms. Marr, your public statements and social media posts reflect left-wing ideology and blatant opposition to free speech. After all, you were the head of Wikipedia for many years, which is a platform that doesn't tell the truth. Let's walk through
Preach.
some of your statements so the public can understand your personal views. You said your fellow Americans just elected Donald Trump as president again this past November. You called him a deranged racist and sociopath. You posted on X that America is addicted to white supremacy. It's appalling. You've publicly chastised using the phrase boy and girl, which you said erases the language for non-binary people. There's only two genders, by the way. Ms. Marr, the federal funding that your outlet receives comes from all American taxpayer dollars, not just from your viewers who support such statements as these. Let me inform you, and that your federal funding is also paid for by the other half of the country.
As I was pointing out there, this is even better, ladies and gentlemen. This is the funnier one.
Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
Yeah, since I was called into this hearing, it evolved really, really quickly, it turns out.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Oh, I can't remember. I can't think of a good lie right now, sorry.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you...
Oh, no, now that I'm sitting here, no, I don't believe that. Not with the camera on me, absolutely not.
were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay.
I don't recall. I read so much. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling...
No, don't pay any attention to what I actually said about how I feel. I don't really mean those things. I just say them online. No, pay no attention to that.
Superior, how white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to be to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted.
The internet's forever, lady. You ain't learned how this goes yet.
Yes, the North. Yes, all of us. Yes, America. Yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt. Yes, reparations. Yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe
He couldn't keep from laughing. He knew that was such bullshit.
much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone
Seems
to pay
to be what you're
reparations, sir.
suggesting. Do you believe that looting is morally wrong?
I believe that looting is illegal, and I refer to it as counterproductive. I think it should be prosecuted.
Do you believe
to the
it's
full extent of the
morally
law.
wrong, though?
Of course.
Of course. Then why did you refer to it as counterproductive? It's a very different way to describe it.
She is not doing good of wiggling out of this hot seat, folks. I don't know about you. I find this kind of stuff funny myself.
It is both morally wrong and counterproductive, as well as being
You
illegal.
tweeted, it's hard to be mad about protests in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do
Yeah, again, remember, this is the head of NPR.
you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe...
I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm just the head of the company. I have no idea what you mean.
That was at my
You
time at
tweeted
NPR.
that you read that book, but...
I don't believe that I did read that.
No, I just tweet random stuff. Don't pay any attention to what I actually said in real time. No, pay no attention to that. That just listen to my lies now. Folks, these are the kind of people that have been spewing propaganda for a long time, and to our kids nonetheless, and to people that try or turn the radio on to think they're getting a unbiased, unfiltered look at things when everything is very, very slanted, one-sided. Unfortunately, it happens to be a side of wackadoos like this wrinkled clown. Lunatic Rep Maxine Waters floats deporting Melania Trump. Demands probe in her immigration status. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman is losing it more and more every day. There's something big that she does not want coming to light, and she is scared to death right now.
If he wants to start looking so closely to find those who were born here and their parents were undocumented, maybe he ought to first look at Melania. We don't know.
Do you have a couple kids that don't belong here? Do you belong here? I wonder sometimes if she does belong here. I know, that's wrong. How could you say that with my lips? That's how. President Trump stops reporter mid-sentence to hilariously troll her for wearing a face mask. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to lie. I didn't have a chance to listen to this story, so let's hear it together.
On education control to the states, how would you handle it if a state like California were to put in place education control?
You know, I haven't seen a mask in so long. You're wearing a mask. So nice of you. I haven't seen anybody wearing a mask in a long time. It's good. You feel more comfortable, right?
Yes.
Good. That's good. So go ahead.
He's a lot nicer than I thought he was gonna be. He just pointed it out. Probably the only idiot standing there with a mask, so he probably made his point. But he was nice, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't call her a name. He didn't make fun of her. I would have. So Wayne Root has a great idea to get around these judges trying to usurp his power and rule on things that they have no business ruling on. And that's just declare war, right? Now, I know on the outset that sounds kind of stupid and ridiculous, but let's think about it, folks. Never in wartime has the judicial been able to rule on an order of the president. And that's one of the biggest arguments they've made is there's no war. Well, then let's have a war. Let's have the Great American Border Wars, says Wayne Root. And I like this idea. Let's have a war to defend our sovereignty and secure our border. A war versus drug traffickers, human traffickers, and sex traffickers. A war versus the Mexican cartel. A war versus specific transnational gangs, not trans activists, unless they want to act like it, like MS-13 and Tren de Agua. Declare war versus the Chinese fentanyl producers. Declare war on, well, I don't think this is a good one. I think this is one of those that's almost happened to this country before. Declare war on terrorism. No. War on terror is a never-ending war that is meant to do nothing but eat money. That's it. And kill people. In the name of security. Or declare the illegal alien foreign invasion officially a war against the U.S. population. Declare a war versus the exploding national debt. Declare a war on mass deportation. Or declare the mass deportation of invaders illegally in our country as a warlike humanitarian crisis. Remember, we had a war on drugs, right? We had war on drugs for years, wasted all kind of money on that. Then again, they ended up with more drugs on the street. Maybe these aren't good ideas after all. Declare a war versus third world diseases from the invaders that are coming in. So there's all different things he can do to declare a war, if you will. And again, I use the air quotes very, very loosely there. Because, again, it could be something like the war on an idea. Or a war on invasion. Or a war on, you name it. Right? A war on Tren de Agua, a war on the cartels, a war. No telling the limits he could go to do this, folks, without actually doing anything as far as like bombing and war-related things, right? I like declare war on sex trafficking. I think that is amazing. Again, last time they declared war on something like this, things went up, so keep that in mind. But if it were to actually work, right, then the Democrats would have to come out and be pro-sex trafficking at that point just to be anti-Trump, right? And last but not least, I know I'm about to go into a bit of a diatribe here, and I think you guys know what's coming. Supreme Court caves to Biden's gun-grabbing agenda, upholds rule mandating serial numbers and background checks for ghost guns. Justice Thomas and Alito dissent. Thank God for Thomas and Alito. But ladies and gentlemen, here's my issue. You guys know where I'm going with this. Anything that makes it harder in any way whatsoever for an American citizen to get a firearm is against the law and should be against the law. These laws should be null and void based on the Constitution. You have a right, according to the Second Amendment of the Constitution, to bear arms. Period. Full stop. End of story. It does not get any more descriptive or less descriptive. You have the right to bear arms, and it shall not be infringed. Anything that makes it harder for anyone to get a gun is infringing on rights. Well, what about people that get guns for bad purposes? They're going to get a gun regardless. And look at Australia. Take the guns and they're going to use knives. If they're going to do something bad, they're going to do something bad, and there ain't nothing in the world you're going to do to stop it. Period. Well, what about people who need to take mental illness tests? Well, we don't know if they're mentally stable to have a gun. Does the Constitution say anything about that? Folks, I'm the most stable person I know. I'm not a person that would ever consider doing something like this. With that said, there are certain things that could happen in my life, certain people that could be under threat in my life. And I'm not sure I would be held responsible for my actions anymore. And I know there's a lot of you out there that think the same thing. Let somebody mess with your child. I'm not sure you would be responsible for your actions anymore at that point, right? No matter how stable you are, there are things that can happen. So there's not a behavior test in the world that's going to analyze and decide who will or won't break in a moment of utter craziness. And it does not say in the Second Amendment of anything except for it shall not be infringed. It does not mention mental capacity. It does not mention anything. Do you think crazy people just showed up on the earth one day in the last 20 years? I Our founding fathers knew about wackadoos. There were insane asylums back then too. Folks, every single person, back up, every single citizen of this country has the right to own a firearm, a weapon, an arm, including felons. Yeah, I think felons should own a gun and have the right to vote. Because if they can be taken away, then they are not rights. If the government can take a right away from you at all, regardless if you're a felon or not, if the government has the ability to take a right from you, that is not a right, it is a privilege. And the Constitution does not give us privileges, it gives us rights. So yes, I believe every American citizen, full stop, regardless of situation, has the right and should have the right to own a firearm and defend themselves accordingly. Well, what about people who get out and use it for the wrong? Then they can get the death sentence when they get back in. We can up the ante for those that use it for the wrong. Yeah, there needs to be higher penalties. Fine, I'm all for that. Absolutely. On the back end, if something happens, yeah, make sure the penalties are through the roof. But on the front end and your ability to get them, I should be able to walk into my local grocery store and buy an AK-47 or a 22 or whatever kind of weapon I need. I think they should be that available, folks. We have the right in this country. They have taken a bureaucracy and laid it on top of our rights and have tried to do their best to turn all of our rights into privileges. And we've let them for some retarded reason. I guess we think we're punishing somebody. And we are. We're punishing ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, why should a felon have the right to vote? Because they have to live in the same country under the same rules, same laws, and same representation. If they don't have the right to vote, they also don't have the ability to pay taxes, right? They should not have the necessity to pay taxes if they are not going to have the representation that they are promised under the Constitution. If the felons are no longer citizens of this country, then that needs to be noted. If they are citizens of this country, they need to be given all the rights that every citizen is afforded in this country, period. The bureaucracy needs to go. Everything to stop people from getting guns needs to go. I don't know why the Supreme Court has upheld this. Supreme Court has made a bad decision here. All these gun laws, all these taking weeks and registrations and this and that needs to go bye-bye. It needs to go by the wayside. Because that's just another way to track you, to create a database, to make sure they know where your weapon is and how many weapons you have, which is none of the government's business. Why? Why is that none of the government's business? Because one of the reasons, the main reason, to have the right to bear arms is just in case the government becomes tyrannical, we as a people have the ability to stop it and defend ourselves from its craziness. What would happen if you deemed a whole party of people as felons? Now, let's look at what's going on in the news right now, folks. You've got people that are out there literally committing terroristic acts against your fellow Americans, and they happen to be on the left. What if every one of these people lost their right to vote, their right to bear arms? What if they lost every right they had? Did they have the rights to begin with at that point? Then you could destroy a whole party because you've taken their ability to vote away from them. It can go for either side. Yeah, I'm standing up for the left at this moment. Because why? Because they're Americans. It doesn't matter left, right, middle. It don't matter in this aspect. We have rights. We have rights given to us by our Constitution. And those rights have slowly been eroded. And we've allowed it. And it's time that comes to a stop. It's time we take back our rights and sue if we have to over and over and over and over again to get our rights back. Now, I want to make this very, very clear. This is coming from a person, and I say this every time I go through this, that has no felonies on his record. I have no skin in this fight, except for the fact that I believe in the rights of every single American citizen, regardless of your court status. That should have no bearing on your rights, because the court didn't give you the rights. The government don't give you your rights. Your rights are endowed by your Creator. It's what it says in our Constitution. They're not endowed by anybody but that. So, if you're still with me, ladies and gentlemen, I really, really appreciate you guys sticking around. I get really fired up on some topics, if you cannot tell. But that is it for tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen. The music should be starting. There it is. That is it for tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Hicks. This has been the Jerry Hicks Show. It is Wednesday, March the 26th, 2025. We are part of the Censored Freedom Network. Don't forget, Censored Freedom Network on X. And make sure you guys do check out the Jerry Hicks Show on X, YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, hit that follow, share us out everywhere. All those little buttons and stubs at the bottom, make sure you hit them all, folks. With that said, on behalf of everyone at Censored Freedom Network, I am Jerry Hicks, and until tomorrow, stay awake, but dare to dream. Stand strong, Patriots. Good night, everybody.